Hey guys, Fi here. So patch 7.24b is about to hit, the last patch of the preseason now before we hit into season 8. We're going to quickly catch you up to speed with all of the changes. There are a lot of smaller things in here, but a few bigger ones as well that you kind of need to know about moving into the next patch, which should be very soon. Before we get into that, just want to remind you that QT still have this gaming discussion going on right now. They were giving away a PS4 Pro, an Xbox One X, and a 1070 graphics card, GTX graphics card. But I managed to persuade them that, like, not obviously everybody wants those things, they might have them already, so to give away the RP equivalent as well. This is like $400 of RP. I don't even know what you would do with that, but I think if you win, that'd be a pretty cool problem to have, I guess. Now, so all you have to do to actually enter is go over to QT and actually leave a comment about the gaming situation and how it's changing and stuff. It's very simple. It'll take you about 2 minutes to leave a comment, enter the polls on the right hand side, and that's pretty much it. So we're going to start with some rune stuff, and then we're going to move into champion roles after that. The rune stuff actually is the sorcery nerfs, honestly. It's sorcery and any secondary path that you take, the bonus you get used to be 15 AD and 25 AP. It's now going to be 12 AD or 20 AP, so slightly reduced from that. Also, if you take inspiration first and secondary sorcery, then you would be getting 16 AD and 27 AP, but it now be 13 AD and 22 AP. This is part of actually what made a lot of mid laners or a lot of supports really batter you so much in the lane phase. 25 AP for free at the very start of the game is pretty crazy, so it kind of makes sense why they would want to nerf it. There are two other rune things. Mana flow ban, the cooldown's going up to 75 seconds from 60 now, so an extra 15, and I think honestly this is one of the most busted runes at the moment. It translates into a lot more damage than you actually think it does because it's giving you mana, so it's kind of like a subtle way of doing it. If you think about it, if you get the mana flow mana back, right, and you're able to cast 2 or 3 more spells because you get one for free anyway, that extra damage, if your like spell does 100 damage, that's like 200 to 300 damage extra you're getting from mana flow ban. That's way more than like a Scorch or something extra, if that makes sense. Scorch though is also getting a nerf. It's going to be a little bit worse in the lane phase, so it's going to start at 20 damage now up to 60 rather than starting from 30 to 60. So moving on to the top lane then, we have buffs to Aatrox, Kled, Renekton, and Yasuo sadly as well, plus a Tiamat line of items. We have nerfs to Jace, Temu, and lethality items. So if we start with the kind of bruises, Aatrox to start with, base AD up slightly, Q and E base damage up as well. Kled is very similar, base AD up, AD growth up, and his E base damage is up 10 as well. Finally, Renekton, base AD and growth up. All three of these are pretty similar, right? They need a little bit of help because bruisers are kind of getting battered a little bit at the moment. Maybe this gives it to them, but it might not be enough. Like, Renekton seems kind of pretty bad at the moment, honestly. You can like cheese with him really well early, but it's a lot more difficult than it used to be last season, I think. Aatrox already got a rework in, still nobody plays him, but I think Kled is actually in an okay spot. If we move on to a few of the nerfs, Jace is getting 1. His Q damage is down a little bit. His E cooldown is going up 5 seconds. Rank 1, it'll be the same rank 5, but the thing is with this, you max this last. Q, then W, right, for damage, then your E afterwards. So really it's going to be on a 5-second higher cooldown pretty much the entire game until level 14, and this is preseason where games don't tend to go that late. So actually your poke damage is going to be kind of a bit worse because you can't use it as often. Also Temu, his health growth is down and his AD is down as well. Maybe we see him be a little bit of a less of a pain, I guess. As much as you hate playing versus him in lane, he's really irritating and he pokes a lot and stuff, it's actually his mid to late game power that kind of wins him the most games, even though it seems kind of weird. The YASUO buffs are actually probably the biggest champion buffs we have this patch. The magic resist growth is going to be up over double what it is right now, so mid game he'll be able to deal with these magic users like a lot more easily. Q base damage up 20, rank 5. His ultimate has a higher cast range as well, so easier way to get into team fights and stuff. These are actually really cool buffs. Like magic resist growth will help a lot, more Q damage as well. I think Yasuo mains will be pretty happy. It's a good start at least to kind of get him on the right track. But I hate this champion. Like, getting blocked by his wind wall with my auto attacks from my AD carry, that kind of sucks. The item changes we have though, Tiamat is going to have 5 more AD for, well, the Tiamat item and Titanic Hydra upgrade as well. Ravenous is staying the same though. Lethality stuff, there is going to be 2 less lethality on all lethality items right now. So it's not massive, but this is actually part of the reason why lethality items were so good in preseason, because they did actually increase lethality and now they've kind of just reduced it down again. So for the mid lane, we have buffs to Cassiopeia and nobody else who's the only champion getting buffed. We have nerfs to Azir, Corki, Katarina, and Zoe as well, getting another nerf that's not too big this time. Plus lethality items we've already talked about. Got to say though, you're going to nerf these guys, but where is the Xerath nerf? If you're going to nerf things like Corki and Katarina and Zoe again, surely Xerath deserves one, but I guess not. Moving into the Azir changes, his W soul damage is going to be down after level 6. It's down 10 before level 12 and 20 for the rest of the game after that. So mid to late game, like Azir is going to be doing a little bit less damage, but actually right now I think he's one of the most insane champions champions at doing a 1v9. So just literally carrying his team and demolishing the enemy team. It can really control a game and do a lot of damage. So the only buff, Cassiopeia, Q mana cost is going down. Your E is going to do a little bit more damage. It's using 10% more of your AP against poison targets, which is decent, but probably not enough to make her really spike up or anything. The only decent keystone right now is Phase Rush, and that's not really in the best spot, I guess, at the moment. For Corki with the nerfs, base AD and AD growth are both going down. Your Q base damage is going to be down 20 rank 5, but it will be the same rank 1 though to start the game. AD growth might kind of mess him up a little bit. This is one of the ways that you can really mess with a champion, and your Q losing 20 damage rank 5 is going to hurt, but the base is already insanely high anyway in your Q, so you don't really have to worry about it too much, and it has a 50% bonus AD ratio and 50% AP ratio, so that is actually the reason why it hurts, not 20 off the base. With Katarina, your E damage is down 15, which is actually half of the damage rank 1, and you don't max this first, so you will be with that half damage for a little while. I didn't think it was that big, but like after a few Katarina mains, I spoke about it in the comment section of one of my videos, they said they were going to suck for all-in fights in the lane phase because your E actually contributes a decent amount of damage, and you're probably going to use it more than once, which does actually make sense. She definitely feels too strong though, so if it does target her lane phase, it's probably a good thing. Zoe is going to be harder to pull off your Q-QR combo. So you Q first, you Q again, and then you ult forwards to increase the range. That's going to be a little bit harder. The Q range now changes when she reappears through the portal, not when she casts it originally. This is kind of cool. It's making Zoe a bit harder to one-shot someone, which isn't a bad thing, but I feel like that's already kind of how it is, right? Bad Zoe players pretty much suck and just feed anyway, but good ones are the ones who are actually demolishing people, and this doesn't really nerf Zoe for a good player. Let's get into the bot lane changes. So we have nerfs to Ezreal, Leona, and Misfortune, the 3 major culprits banned pretty much every game, plus we obviously had the lethality items as well. The Ezreal nerf is going to be targeting his attack speed growth. It's down, and it's almost actually down half of what it was, 2.8% to 1.5% now. This is actually how they killed Caitlyn, if you remember, when she was kind of overpowered. Luckily, Ezreal doesn't really auto-attack that much. He's using his Q for his damage and stuff, but late game, I imagine his damage versus like a tank or something would actually be down quite a lot. I don't think it stops what he is good at, using Kleptomancy, having insane damage like early to mid game, but it will be harder to win later. So pretty much the most horrible support to play against right now, Leona, is losing 20 damage off of her Q. So that actually brings it down rank 1 to 10 damage from 30, which is pretty cool. I don't think it will stop her being really strong. She'll still be able to do what she does right now, engaging and letting her AD carry follow up and stuff. She has damage in the rest of her kit, but if you survive on less than 20 health after she all-ins you, then this is the change that actually saved you. With Misfortune, there is a nerf to her E. The cooldown is going up 4 seconds, rank 1. It will now be 18 seconds. This is similar to Jace if you think about it like that. You max it last. So it's really, I mean, it's really annoying anyway with Arcane Comet, right? She presses it, Arcane Comet damage on top. It actually does a lot of damage. It will help you face her in the lane phase a little bit more, which is good. I kind of feel like, though, Misfortune just does way too much damage with her Q. The synergy with Arcane Comet is really good anyway. Love Tap and her ultimate, and the synergy with lethality items. Obviously, we have the lethality item changes as well, the 2 less damage, right? Maybe the mix of that nerf plus the direct one to Misfortune will make more of a difference. So finally for the jungle, then we have a nerf to Rammus and we have a buff to Kayn. Finally, Rammus is getting nerfed. It's a bit weird though, because he no longer starts now the game with a 15% bonus attack speed. I wasn't even aware this was actually a thing, but something they added in the preseason, and now they're going to be taking that away because he doesn't really need help farming, I think. If you think about it, one of the issues with Rammus is that he farms relatively fast, like not too fast, but not too slow either. He doesn't take any damage, so he comes out of the jungle and he's able to gank straight away. So this might mean that he isn't able to gank as much because he's going to be spending a bit more time farming, which would be a good thing and would reduce his power quite a lot. Genuinely, he's the most annoying jungler to play against. I think he doesn't die. He's everywhere with Moby Boots. So this is actually a pretty cool nerf. With Kayn, the AD growth is going to be up a little bit per level, which will affect blue and red, which is pretty good. But the red side is actually getting a buff as well, where the red Kayn is getting a buff to his passive. The healing is going to be up early levels. It scales through the game. It will actually end up at the same, but it will start a bit higher, so you'll be able to do a bit more mid-game. And honestly, I don't see red Kayn a ton. Whenever I do, he takes forever to die, so this might actually be a pretty good buff for him mid-game. We might see a bit more of the red side rather than just the blue Kayn. Those are the changes for 7.24B, but remember we are going to have some more changes for 8.1, which will actually kick off Season 8. So this won't be the entire game that we're going to play in Season 8, if that makes sense. A few things that Medler talked about: buff to Brand's passive damage, nerf to Heimerdinger's R and Q damage, which I know Rezone is not happy about, buffs to Olaf's base damage, W attack speed, his E cooldown as well. Seems pretty crazy. Xerath mana cost is actually going to go up. Forbidden Idol changes and a Predator buff as well. One last thing, Grasp the Undying is apparently now officially getting a rework, which seems pretty weird because, I mean, obviously we talked about a kind of mini rework already, but this is ground up rework. They are going to redo the entire keystone and replace it with something different. I will link a post that Meta talks about this down in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. But basically, they aren't happy with what Grasp is doing right now. They don't want to mess it up by kind of half reworking it, so they're just going to build a completely new keystone ready for Season 8. That is going to wrap up our last patch now, an insight into 8.1. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the changes, and make sure you go and enter the QT giveaway as well. Thank you for watching. I think, though, it is time for a new outro song today, so enjoy.